And Jesse, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. John?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Now, for the listeners out there, Planet X Special Report, and this is the, I don't know, we call it Premier Edition. We can call it whatever we want as long as nobody calls it Collect. And but one of the interesting things that happened once we announced that we were changing the format for Yeah Radio, and I was going to go to an ad hoc, and we were going to shift in the programming, and Jesse and I would be pairing up and start bringing out folks. Man, the onslaught was amazing, and I was getting a whole bunch of emails every day. Jesse's a so-and-so and a scum bucket and a this and that, and you're net. And I don't know, I think, Jesse, did you get a few back in a reverse direction towards me?
Well, Marshall, I think we've had about 200,000 views since the show, and I would say 1% were negative. But I've noticed it change. People are starting to we've kind of filtered through some of the people that are just there to come in and disrupt. And through that filtering process, we're getting more and more constructive comments. But, yeah, we definitely, people don't like it when you strike certain nerves. And we felt it on this end. Yeah,
and, that was the reason why we were originally planning to do this show, not today, but actually next Friday was going to be the launch. And I spoke with Jesse about it yesterday, and what's happening here, let me explain to you folks, it's not what you would think, that you're going to get crank letters from people that have been following you for a long time. We always get those people, and they're always writing. But the ones we get are like on YouTube. We'll get a message, and it's usually vulgar language. And here's the truth. Go to this site and go find this site. And you go to that, and it's a classic Disinfo YouTube channel, one of these quick throwaway accounts they throw up, very sketchy, or usually just no details on who owns the account, and or their cynical comments like I live in Timbuktu and that kind of nonsense. And you'll see one or two links to videos that are just junk. It's just stuff that they can scam down off YouTube for somewhere else and repost it. And so you get those, that you're tracing back to it, and what the Disinfos really were trying to do with us folks. And it's important to tell you, not that we're particularly upset about it. We're not. I mean, this is just what life is for me and Jesse and folks like us. You just got to deal with these poison pen things, and there's always going to be that. But this is more of an orchestrated campaign, and it's real simple. They know when they do this that we're not going to go, oh, my God, Jesse's a so-and-so because this Yutz is saying it. No, we don't. We do what we always do. We'll go and just simply reverse back into whoever the sender was, their account, and block them. Or we mark them as spam, or we file a complaint against them with their ISP for an attack. And because all we're really doing is engage in a battle of attrition, because we're not fighting real people. We're fighting hollow personas and throwdown accounts. But it takes them effort and time to create their throwdown accounts. And so this would have just simply gone on, this cycle of nonsense and attacks that they're doing, the Disinfos. It's not genuinely idiotic people. They have a completely different approach. Compared to the cockroaches, it's actually refreshing at times, too. But,
well, Marshall, explain to us where these are coming from, and connected to the famous saying by President Nixon, it's not the crime that incriminates them, but it's the cover-up. So in trying to cover up, they're actually proving to us that there is a great threat coming that they don't want us to know about. Why don't you explain that?
Well, the whole point of what they're doing is that they're wanting to position themselves. I mean, they are whoever has the money to keep a secret a secret. That's it. That's the only really rule you can apply.
We're talking about the power elite.
Power elites, absolutely. I mean, we're not talking about dealing with yutzes out there, potty mouth teenagers and ne'er-do-wells, and yeah, they're out there, and they're, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to attract them. They come like lights to the moth, or moths to a light. But yeah,
well,
these are the ones that
these people are paid to do this.
Oh yeah, they're paid. They're well organized, and and sometimes in the interchanges, it's like I'll write them back and I go, you didn't follow your manual. Try again.
That's right. Disinformation techniques that are widely used by the intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
Well, Marshall,
you know what happens when they do that? I've noticed, and I keep up with this. I keep an eye on all the channel hits and things like that go on. Certain things that trigger a certain nerve reaction, and where we get the load of the big hits that are negative, they'll go up and put the other channels up, right? And start sending into all of your subscribers the information. And every time they do it, it backfires on them because it doubles my hits, and it brings people here to see, well, why is he such a bad guy or whatever? And then they start gathering information, and then I see them change and start sending in links to new earthquake links or volcano things. So it's backfiring on them, and they're bringing people to our channel. So let them keep doing it. That's what I've seen on my numbers.
Pretty soon they're not going to be able to plaster us with disinformation, because I see so many people, increasing numbers of people, starting to speak out about these natural disasters and the connection of these natural disasters to celestial bodies approaching the inner solar system. Everybody's talking out about it, and it's just there's no way they can muster enough disinformation agents to suppress our movement.
Yeah, this is almost kind of like an Occupy Wall Street phenomena where, you listen to the 1% and they're going, okay, where's your spokesman with the list of demands? Because that's what they do best. They get into negotiations with you and they have taken tens of thousands of dollars worth of Zig Ziglar marketing and negotiation courses, and they clean your clock, and you walk out going, what the hell happened? I'm the bad guy, and they still got it all, And it's like, that's what they want to do, and they can't do that with these folks out there that are having a carnival and saying, shame on you. How the hell do you negotiate and cheat people that are just saying, shame on you?
Well, Marshall, the Earth is rumbling. The Earth is breaking apart. The Earth is going through incredible trauma. Thousands, millions of people are dying. Earthquakes. And so naturally, you've got an increasing population. That 5% of all populations that has ever existed, that is vocal, that is activist-minded. There's always been a 5% in every civilization, in every era of history, who will rise up and stand up for the truth and for justice, and that's what's happening now. Look at the earthquakes. People are wondering what's going on. I know the Earth is in trouble. I've got to do something. That's their attitude. So this is a wave. This is a tidal wave of public information, and we're part of it. We're on the crest. We're on the foam of the crest of this tidal wave, trying to help to save lives.
Well, as we used to say in the computer industry, I think we're more on the bleeding edge, but it goes that way. But I tell you what, guys, this has been fun. And man, we could burn through the hour just on this line of logic alone, and I'd have a good time. Boy, this is my kind of brain candy. But we have got to stay true to the new and improved. Don't you love that when they always do that on television? New and improved. We found a cheaper way to make it. Now we're selling you real garbage. That's how they do it on TV. But anyway, our focus now is the week in review. Because, man, events, guys, I've been doing this since 1999, and there's always been, through the years, this ebb and flow of events. And it was kind of slow. It was like watching molasses on a rocking table or something. And you always could, for the most part, you could pretty well, not worry about if you're going to schedule a radio show for a week or even 2 weeks in advance that something dramatic was going to blow you out of the water. Well, now it's day to day. And that was a huge problem I had with the Al Radio schedule, because every Tuesday night with a new topic, and as a researcher, I wanted to talk about what I was following in my work. We did that a lot, especially with the Elenin thing, but, we were kind of jumping back and forth. This is going to be a format that works more for everybody out there who is actively aware and looking and listening and thinking and doing. This is not going to be entertainment, all right? Doesn't mean we don't like to have a good laugh. I do. Humor is the best medicine, and it's actually something that's very, very necessary for survival.
If you don't laugh, you'll have to cry.
That's right, gallows humor, you know? I mean, it was like, did you ever see the movie Life of Brian? At the end of the show, they're all standing up on crosses. They're nailed up on crosses. Or excuse me, they were tied up to crosses and singing, always look on the bright side of life. And I mean, if you just rent The Life of Brian and just see the last few minutes of the show, it is really, really hysterical. But that's really what you got to do. Always look on the bright side of life. And in the meantime, though, you need to see what's really coming at you, okay? And what's happening in the world around us. And I have never, ever seen this level of activity. And it's getting more and more and more. And that was the reason why I partnered up with Jesse, because he is on these real-time internet tools. And the advantage to you folks is that it can give you, particularly those of you that live in areas where it might not be so great if the guacamole hits the fan, like right along the East Coast. If you wait to hear about it on CNN, it's already too late. You've lost options. But if you're using the information we're providing you in these shows and to know which trends to follow on your own, it is so important that each and every one of you listening out there can do exactly what that we're doing and do it better. And that you can go on. You will become the worst nightmare of the elites, because then honesty will metastasize in the middle of their evil. Not good for them, great for us. So we want you to go out there and stand in your own knowing, and to have the confidence in your own ability to use freely available tools on the internet to do exactly that. So with that, first off, what I'd like to do is there's a little site that John DiNardo tossed at me called disasterscharter.org, and that's disasterscharter.org. John, why don't you tell our folks about that?
Well, I'm looking at that web page. There's a sub-page below that, but just remember disasterscharter.org. And what it does is chronologically lists all the disasters that have occurred by date around the world. It starts with the most recent in 2011, October 2011, and if you scroll down, you'll see the previous disasters going all the way back to the year 2000. So, and if you click on each one, of course, you'll get the full story of each particular disaster, but we don't have the time for that. So I'm just going to go through some of these to try to give you an idea. Basically, the point of this is to prove to you that disasters are definitely increasing quite significantly over ever since the year 2000. And what that means for us is, watch out. You've got an 18-wheeler coming at you, and you've got to do something to get out of the way.
That's right. John, I'll tell you what, for you listeners out there, if you're on the home page for disasterscharter.org, I just put a link down in the chat room, so you can just click on that link. But when I went to this site the first time, something I saw that I thought was really great for you newbies out there that are coming to it, so that, you know, when you're looking at tabled text, for us, I mean, we read it like matrix code, okay? So, we see where that's going. But a picture's literally worth 10 gazillion words when it comes to this. So what you do is click on, you'll see in the menu bar on the left-hand side, Home, Charter Activations Map. Click on Activations Map. You see a panorama of the Earth, and you see all the different disasters that are happening out there. And let me throw it back to you, John. Why don't you take it from here, from the map, and tell people a little bit more about this site.
Okay, I'm looking at the list that is given of all the disasters, and I'm seeing October 28th, volcano in Chile. This is all in October now. Earthquake in Turkey, floods in El Salvador, floods in Vietnam, floods in Thailand. And incidentally, they forgot about the floods in Ireland, which we just saw on YouTube a few days ago. And they forgot about the floods in Italy, which I'm seeing on the Weather Channel, and the consequent landslides in Italy from this great flooding. I mean, I've seen YouTubes of whole sides of mountains sliding down and wiping out houses built on the sides of those mountains in Italy. So to continue, floods in Cambodia. We got floods all over the world. And incidentally,
I know.
Floods in Algeria. I'm just reading this list now, and I'm still in October. Haven't even gotten.
Yeah, in Ireland. Have you seen what's happening in Ireland? They're getting hammered. Uh-oh, looks like we might have... Excuse me all, can you hear? Can you all hear me? Okay, this is Marshall on the backup. There's always back doors. You know, I know that we wrote an article about Carnivore and Echelon many years ago, and at that time they were using Microsoft Windows, which is just rife with back doors. So if somebody knows where the keys are, they can get in, hit and run attacks, disrupt somebody, and then they hit and run out, and nobody knows. And that's the reason why when you cast a little sunlight on them, that they've got to dodge out, because what they're doing is inherently illegal.
Hello? I agree with that 100%. Judging from what I saw on the show and what I experienced here on my computers in-house, because I run my virus control on my firewall real tight, because I run a couple of servers here, and I've had to make sure that everything is ship-shape and we don't have people trying to intrude,
right?
Because that's happened before. And when this happened, I don't know if it was because I was in a private chat with a couple of people that were in the chat room when this started, but all of a sudden my firewall came to life. It just started literally being pounded by somebody on the outside. They tried to start every single program on the computer.
Right.
And what was really disturbing is that they were attempting to start programs that don't exist on the computer. For instance, they were attempting to start a torrent program, which is a
downloader.
A downloader, things that people use for illegal music files and things like that. They also tried to start up a program called Ping, EXE, that's used to find out where another computer is on the internet. You know, are you there? And it'll give a remote reply. So that's a couple of the things that they tried to start, and that was very disturbing. And that's when I made sure that I hopped on the email and the messaging and everything, and made sure that you knew about that, because I was able to pick that up here, and it was very disturbing, to be honest with you. But I'm glad I was able to stop it. But
okay, folks, I think we're back on the air, and I hope everyone can hear us. Can you hear me, John, and can you hear me, Jesse?
Yes, Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall, I've got you. We lost you quick there.
Oh, no, this was the way that they do the attacks this way is that they can go in and they can hit you on the server side and clip you at the on the audio circuit boards. But you had a take on it, John. What was it?
Well, actually, it was a natural disaster that caused me to lose connection. And we had a power failure, and the reason is we've had the worst snowstorm for this date in history. Now, the snowflakes are like many snowballs, and the snow is very heavy, piling up very rapidly. I went to run to the post office nearby just about an hour before the show started, and I brushed off all the snow off the car, and it threw the brush into the car and jumped inside, and by the time I got inside, the windows were covered with snow again. I mean, I was just amazed.
If it was just you, John, if it was just you, I would have believed that. The problem is that you and Jesse both are in on separate circuits, and the two of you went out at the same time.
I got hit hard on this end, Marshall.
Well, that's amazing, because I had a power failure. I mean, what happened was that my power went out because of, and the Weather Channel was warning about this today. They were saying this snow is heavy and wet. It's going to bring down tree limbs, and sure enough, outside my house, there's a tree limb overhanging the street and blocking the street. And so I know the tree limbs came down and pulled down the power lines and caused this temporary power failure that we had from this unique snowstorm. But then Jesse got it too, so wow. What a
we got hit hard on this end. That snowstorm now, they say that's records that's been broken from the Civil War. We did a video last night about it, and we were warning people about backup heat, because NASA said we're having this increased solar, these bursts are going to increase to 2013 through the solar maximum. And I was concerned that people around the world, and we were talking to people in the north last night on the new video about this, is that backup heat could be critical. And what we had done is we had watched this come in, is we had installed a wood burner heater. Even though we have electrical heat with natural gas backup, if your grid goes down, if your electrical is gone, and then your supply line falls behind that, from your pumping stations to your trucks trying to deliver with computer communications for orders. And after living through 2 weeks with no power, no water after Hurricane Katrina here in Mississippi, that got my attention. And so if you go down, and we have solar flares that either from heating the Gulf and pumping this extra moisture into the already winds that are coming down into the north on you guys, it's either going to be that or electrical shortages due to these flares hitting our power grids and overloading them. But now it's getting down. We know that things are happening. Now what are you going to do about it? Are you prepared, or do you have a way to heat and keep your family warm and feed them this winter? That's the main thing you got to watch right now.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a really, really cold winter, and we're not the only ones. You know, now they're on mainstream, and they're saying, well, make sure you've got extra firewood and whatnot, and you can stay warm, and, you know, it's important. But I think, let me put it to you this way. I live in a temperate climate where if you're buying a sleeping bag, all right, you buy a bag that's maybe rated for as low as minus or 10 degrees. All right, you could even get a bag that's rated down to like 30 degrees. For this winter, seeing what I'm seeing and following Jesse's channel, I hedged my bet, and I wanted to make sure that we had really good warm bags for emergency sleeping. And so I picked up a couple of Coleman's that are minus 15 degree bags. And the only way they're going to work for us is if it's that cold. Otherwise, it's very uncomfortable in a mild climate. So this is, you know, I mean, I'm taking this seriously, guys. I'm just really, really taking it seriously. By the way, I had to say here that, I mean, the comments in the chat room, you folks out in the virtual studio, we got 93 users out there, and it's very, very, very polite and well-behaved, and I really do appreciate it. You guys are just doing a wonderful job there in the virtual studio. Let me throw you some of the comments here, and after I put out, here I'm all... we got slammed. ZenMed said the snowstorm is not natural, neither the electrical outage. I agree with you, Zen. You know, we live in a world of coinkydinks. And they're always not natural coinkydinks. Losing two guys, one in New Jersey and one in the middle of the country, you know, those are completely different circuits going down at the same time. You know, the rest of the board did not go down, so it wasn't Blog Talk. This is something where it could be interrupted really well.
Marshall, pretty soon they won't be able to do this because there will be thousands of people like us speaking out. They're going to have to shut down the Internet. And they can't do that because it would disrupt the economy. So they've got a problem. But pretty soon we're going to have such an army of people walking and talking alongside of us. There's no way they can mow us all down.
That's absolutely
verbally,
right.
That is.
That's right. That's right. So that's why we put all the tools and links and try to go through them on our videos. Because if we had talked about this before, if they take my channel down or something happens on this end, too many people have the tools now. Like John said, you'd have to shut the Internet down because they're out there. There's no way to shut everybody up.
And we're on shortwave radio too.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I think people should be aware of is that when we have our power grid to go down, everybody's going to kind of suffer from a YouTube shock, and because it's not going to be there. That communication line that we rely on so heavily these days will be gone, and it's going to convert back to our only communication lines are going to be able to, stuff like ham radios and shortwave radios. And I would love to see a network set up that had backup power. You would have to have a base station with your ham set up with solar or wind power generators in order to transmit. And now everybody won't be able to afford a transmitter, but now you can get hand crank and solar powered ham and shortwave receivers to where you can at least keep updated. And I think there will be enough guys like me and some other folks out there that will try to set these stations up and as a service to mankind, update as we get it. And that's what I'm looking into, is trying to put together a solar shortwave station. And that is going to be the new Internet.
There you go. I agree with you. And for you folks out there, just a tip, you know, you can get the emergency, like the Eaton radios, and they'll have the shortwave bands, weather alerts, and all of that. And those are good to get. They're not too expensive. You can shop around and find them like at Radio Shack and online. One suggestion is that when you're not using that radio, take and disconnect all the batteries in it, even the ones that are the built-in NiCads, and make sure you wrap it up in something. You can just make a little Faraday cage. We describe all that in Planet X Forecast. You can just use, you know, this Christmas holiday, tell everybody to send you fruitcake, all the fruitcake you can get. Keep it. It's good survival food in a pinch, but also the cans are great if you just sand off the top a little bit and you got a Faraday cage as long as there's metal connection. And just remember, whatever's inside that can't touch the metal. And keep your batteries separate from the radio. Put that in a can like that. You probably got one sitting around the house. Any kind of these cans that are used for food is really good because they're a very tight seal. And then you just set that aside.
They block electromagnetic radiation.
Right, right. It's a Faraday cage.
Right. That's a great idea. Everybody needs to go on the Internet before the Internet goes down and buy a shortwave radio.
Yeah.
You can get one for about $80.
Yep.
Just look around.
That's right. That's the only way you'll be able to communicate, and that may be critical in survival, is to know if there are food banks in certain areas, there's water supplies in certain areas, or if there's a disaster coming your way. And so we've got to, everyone really should work towards that goal.
And you know what else, too? The citizens band radios, which have a shorter transmission range, but they're good for your neighborhood.
Locally. Yeah, locally they're great. And then
you can organize people in it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, too. I was just saying we can go worldwide with your short band and the ham, and then do your local updates through the CB system.
Imagine a disaster. Now you've got a CB radio, or you've got other radios too, like these walkie-talkies, I forget what they call them, that have a limited range, maybe of a couple miles radius, where people in a disaster can talk to one another and say, well, I've got, it might say, well, I've got food here, do you have water or whatever, or where do we go to get this, and what can we do to forage for food? People can help one another out by communications this way.
Well, that's exactly right. Now, I'm not a publisher or an author in books, but my wife has put together a guide, and she actually started it for us, and it lists all the trees in North America. I'd like to get some input on my channel from around the world, but a lot of people don't realize you can eat acorns, you can eat hickory nuts, and so what we're doing in this book is we're putting together photographs of the tree, of the leaf, and what the nuts look like, and you can go back in the old America where they would take these and grind them up and make like a meal to bake bread with. And I know that's as simplistic as you can get, but if it came down to where that was the only thing you could eat, you'd go do it.
That's right. And, and a convenient thing about a book like this, Jesse, and I think this is something that folks really, really need, is when they're hungry and they're scrabbling for food, they're going to try to eat all kinds of things. And if you have a heads up on what you can keep down, it beats the heck out of, testing different things to see which you can keep in your stomach and what you're going to hurl. The hurling is not very comfortable. So if you guys don't want to, be in a survival situation where, survival means who's going to have to hurl to test something, then, who's going to be the guinea pig? You don't want to be the guinea pig. Yeah, well, then what you do is you get Jesse's book when he gets it out there, and I sure do want to see him get it going. Jesse, this week, because we're 20 minutes left in the show here, and give us a rundown of all of the trends and things that you have seen over this last week on a global basis. What's new and what's changing?
Okay, Marshall, if we backtrack, we had a big quake yesterday in Peru. Chile. Just on the beach there. We threw a video up as soon as it came in, and then there were 4 or 5 big aftershocks. That's in your east corner of fire. That red fire has been lighting up. And you mentioned, Marshall, on a phone call we had about the magma inside absorbing the radiation from the increasing activity.
Okay, Jesse. Jesse, we're having a real hard time with your phone. It's chopping in and out.
I'm going to hold on. I'm going to throw a switch. Hold on 1 second. See if this gets better. Okay, we're coming in.
Go back to Peru again. The earthquake or Chile.
Oh, you don't miss it. You don't miss a trick, John.
You missed what you said.
Well, the point is the sun is heating up the earth. Okay, and when you're dealing with that and you're dealing with your magma flows, you're going to see places on Earth that you don't normally see become active. I have never seen a swarm like we saw in Turkey a week ago. You go to your 3D earthquake. It's a free software. You can download it on your computer, Earthquake 3D, and look at that pattern. That's as unnatural as anything I've ever seen. Marshall, in 1973, I worked for Shell Oil Company exploring for oil. We used seismographs. We used dynamite. We saw what was under the earth. And so you start seeing these patterns. But that quake right there coming through, and if you look at the crack from the Turkey quakes that come through the Mediterranean by Mount Etna, you come out in north of the Canary Islands and hit your Atlantic Ridge. And so many people have watched El Hierro. Now, what happened there is you had quakes start on the mainland, then they went south into the ocean. They've got two undersea mounts there. One of them, they're already taking names to name the new island. But the part that's worrying me is that they have moved back across the island, northward, into the open ocean, in the La Palma direction. And so we got to watch that area.
Right. La Palma is in the archipelago, but it's directly north of Faro, right?
That's right. It's north, and that's the pattern of the movement of the lava flow. In other words, if it's rising in the northern hemisphere of the globe, that would be a natural pattern. And so, and you know from the Discovery Channel shows that if La Palma gets hit just right and cracks, enough seawater can rush into the vents, cause a steam eruption, and that's where they talk about your tsunamis. But what worries me more than that is that it's close to the Atlantic Ridge, and if that thing could drop just 10 feet, then you've got a tsunami that's going to spread from Europe to the United States and to all countries of the world before that's over with.
You mean the mid-Atlantic Ridge, if that drops,
yeah,
that'll cause an undersea-driven tsunami that will hit both Europe and the United States.
That's right, and one of the keys is the Katla volcano in Iceland. That's at the top of this ridge. We have a webcam on our site that keeps it an hour and 24 hours a day, as well as a lot of other volcanoes, and we're adding those daily.
Okay. Jesse, do me a favor. We got someone that wants a caller, so I'm going to go screen that call and just keep going.
Well, John,
Jesse,
what are you saying?
Earthquake 3D site. What is that again?
It's it's a free software, and that's how you type it in. You'll have to download it, and it will come up. It will show you the globe. It has various features that you can check out where your quakes are, the strength, the magnitude. You can put different effects on it to see the shell shock rings. You can remove the surface of the Earth and check them out from all directions. Just real neat.
What is your website where we could go and see those results? That's
MrCometWatch.com. There's probably 20 or 30 links there now, and we add them daily.
MrCometWatch.com. Okay.
Okay. You guys ready for a caller?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. It's Phoenix 333. That's a blast from the past, eh, Jesse?
Hey, Phoenix. How you doing, buddy?
Phoenix, you're on the air. Well, hold on a sec. He was there for a moment. Now he should be.
Can you guys hear me?
There you are.
Yes.
Okay, Phoenix. What's your real name, Phoenix?
My real name is Phoenix. I am an extremely private individual, if you don't mind there, Marshall. I know a lot of people put their name out there, but I have a radio show and a forum. We do a few other things, and my close partner in this, very dear one to me, Lake House, she has a blog, and we do different things financially. And
right, okay, but just, what have you got for the listeners? What we need is, news they can use, okay? So what have you got? What's that's going on this week that you've been spotting?
Well, we've spotted something very unusual. I gave Mr. Comet Watch a heads up and have not sent him the information. I just received it this morning. One of the researchers on our team actually found an algorithm. And what we were noticing and what we have found is a definable, measurable algorithm within the quakes. And we have a pattern, and right now we're expecting a 6+ quake at any moment, and that's what we should be seeing next. And what this is showing me is that there is a possibility that
we're having 6+ quakes darn near every day, and some days we have multiple 6+ quakes.
Correct. That's correct. And this is coming in an algorithm-type pattern that is measurable and definable. This isn't a random thing. What we are noticing that it is presenting almost like on a wave-like pattern, and this apparently is caused by the energetic charging of the Earth, but it's just not a random heating or a random effect. It's almost a definable wave. And I will be sending those numbers to Jesse in email in a little while.
Okay,
how do we get to your website?
Marshall, what he's talking about there may be one of the most important tools that we ever have for these earthquakes. The whole universe has a rhythm and a wave. And when you start tuning in, especially when you're dealing with the sun and outer influences and this wave pattern, that could be the most important one we have.
Okay.
Well, I'm anxious to see
Phoenix?
that.
Mr. Phoenix?
Yes.
or whatever
Yes.
your name is today.
That is. That's my name every day, as a matter of fact.
Okay, just giving you grief. Why don't you tell everybody your web address so they can go out and look at your site and get that information?
Well, if you want to check my theory, what I call my final element theory, you can check Phoenix333blogspot.com, and that will take you to my blog. And it has a lot of information about the object element, my theory on the object element, and we haven't done a lot of it. I have a YouTube channel, which I really have not utilized, but we're preparing to do some videos on all of this.
Okay.
It doesn't work. What you gave us doesn't work. I just typed it in. Phoenix333blogspot.com.
.blogspot.
Okay, well, let me jump online here real quick.
Maybe I typed it wrong.
You have to have it's a subdomain. I would phoenix333.blogtalk.com. I would try that.
Let me see. I just clicked on it. Hold on one second. Let me see what we can come up here with. Okay, it is Phoenix333.blogspot.com.
Oh, okay. There's 4 3s in there. Okay, I got it now.
Correct.
.blogspot.com.
Yes, that is correct.
I'll keep referring to that page.
Yeah, and we will we'll redirect you at some point when we get our YouTube stuff up. But basically, what we're looking at here, and my theory on this, kind of goes in line with the Velikovsky electric universe theory and the wave patterns that we're seeing, and this energetic transfer of objects that we have. And primarily, I don't have it on that final theory, but we have an observable, I believe, 4 methods of this transference of wave-like energy. And that I will go into later.
Well, it appears to you, I think all of us, that the La Palma earthquake, or I should say volcanic eruption, may be occurring very soon. And we got to start to think about how we can help to save some lives. I mean, millions will be killed on the east coast of the Americas, but we've got to try to save as many lives as we can. I had a couple ideas, and maybe other people have ideas too. One of which is to alert certain groups of people on the east coast who are very close to the shore, who would be extremely sensitive and concerned enough such that they would warn others. And these would be emergency medical personnel and firefighters. They're trained for emergencies, and some police also, but mainly EMT and firefighters who live on Atlantic shore cities like Atlantic City, places that are right on the coast. They know they're going to die. They know their wives and children are going to die, and they're going to become very active if we can convince them this is going to happen. And we may not have much time to do it, but we have no other choice but to try to bring it to these particular groups, and that's why we'll need a whole pyramid of people contacting these meetup groups. They have meetup groups for firefighters, I would imagine, emergency medical. They have Twitter, they have Facebook pages, all kinds of social networking where we could rapidly get in touch with lots of these people who are particularly vulnerable. Again, Miami, Daytona Beach, all these people there are going to devote their time to it, not so much mainly because they're going to be the victims, whereas if you notify personnel in the middle of the country, they'll care, but not enough to really dedicate themselves to this cause.
Well, that sounds very good and noble and a proactive thing to do, Marshall. It really does, because we must be proactive in things like that and do the best we can, and that's just all we can do. But I see one flaw. Let me play devil's advocate with this a little bit. If indeed we were to come under an incident where we were under heavy solar influence and a solar geomagnetic storm where we could potentially lose our power grid, that's the problem, because these early warning systems like the EAS system, tsunami warning systems, radio, telephone, and cell phone will all be down. So that's my greatest fear, is that we would get into a solar event and these events would happen, and people basically on the shore, the first warning they would get, they would notice all the water receding rapidly away from the shoreline.
Right. We just have to do our best to try to warn people, and despite all the dangers inherent in that, So I think we have to do that really quickly, because all of us agree that with the La Palma landslide-driven tsunami may be occurring very soon, especially with the information you're giving us about these swarms traveling up toward the island of La Palma, where that dangerous western flank is ready to slide into the ocean.
Yeah, I agree with that. It just stuns me that we're seeing all of these quake swarms, and they're really dramatic and they're persistent. Like, I've been watching this quake swarm off of Puerto Rico for months. And I mean, it just doesn't slow down. It is always in movement. There's always swarming activity. It was like in Faro, they said in less than, it was in 2.5 month period of time, 10,000 microquakes. You know, I mean, that just stuns the imagination.
5 years ago, I was told by someone who has a friend who is a USGS geologist. 5 years ago, this geologist told my friend, who passed it on to me, that the USGS expects land masses to arise out of the Gulf of Mexico, and now it's beginning to happen.
Wow!
And this was probably what the so-called BP oil spill was all about. They were trying to somehow relieve the pressure, or at least cover up the fact that the seabed was bursting last year, and oil was leaking out multiple places. So they had to come up with an oil spill that made it look like it was man-made to allay the fears of the public. And now, guess what? My friend tells me the same thing. My friend who has a USGS geologist friend tells me that he was told that there is, off the Hawaiian Islands, there is land rising, an island, a magma dome or whatever. An island is rising up from this extremely deep ocean off the Hawaiian Islands, and there's a lot of iron in that magma rising upward. And it's going to have some change on the geographic North Pole. Somehow, I don't see, I mean, I'm not a geologist, but it sort of makes sense that with all this iron rising from the Earth's core toward the Hawaiian Islands, you're going to see all kinds of problems, such as the collapsing of these top-heavy islands. There's like a triple-decker ice cream cone, and you put it in the sunlight for a couple minutes, and it begins to topple over. Well, Professor Gary McMurtry, an oceanographer at the University of Hawaii, says that these islands build up so much so much lava from past eruptions that they become top-heavy, and also now with this disturbance under the ocean, the base of these top-heavy mountains begins to erode, and now the whole thing is ready to collapse. Now, let me tell you what happened. Where they tell you, all the geologists, even on television, on the Science Channel, will tell you that 4,000 years ago, the island of Reunion, which is spelled like the word reunion, off the coast of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean, that toppled over, caused a tsunami, which was horrific. And when they say, they mention the time of 4,000 years ago, well, that's pretty close to 3,650 years ago, 36.5 centuries ago, when Planet X made its last incursion into our solar system. So we know that date that they're stating is actually pinpointing Planet X's disruption of our Earth. And it's going to happen again because we know Planet X is coming in again. So we got to look for not only a tsunami hitting the East Coast from a landslide into La Palma Islands, but we've got to worry about the same thing happening on the West Coast with these islands that are ready to collapse. Yeah. And the Cascadia subduction zone off the coast of Oregon and Washington.
That's an interesting. There's one swarm, and we've only got about a few minutes left in the show. Jesse, you're watching a quake swarm that is in movement along a ridge that seems to be going to the base of the Cascadia fault system and into the San Andreas. Is that right? Jesse? Hello, Jesse.
Well, maybe is Phoenix 333 there?
I'm here.
Okay, maybe you could talk about that. Well,
I haven't really been following that closely, what Jesse's watching specifically, because what I am observing is an entire global effect, and personally what I believe, you can read it on my theory there, is that we are seeing a sympathetic heating of the core of the Earth through this energy that we're encountering, and that combined with the solar activity that we're observing and documenting is what's causing all these tectonic movements around the world right now and the volcanic buildups. And you were describing about this constant buildup that was troubling to you, and I believe that's what it is. And unfortunately, I believe that we're reaching a point where potentially we could hit an energy trigger and make them all go at once. Now, I've heard you mention, Marshall, about the movie 2012. You will remember in the movie 2012, when they first determined and were told by the scientists what the problem was, they had determined that the Earth's core was heating at a rapid pace, almost like a microwave, and that they didn't understand how it was happening, and the particles, the neutrinos actually, were not supposed to be doing this. But all the effects, these dramatic things of that Hollywood movie that you saw were the result of the core of the Earth rapidly expanding. And I believe that's what we're seeing, just like the movie showed.
Well, it behooves us to watch that movie again. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got not only the sun's electromagnetic bursts, well, charged particles being blasted out by the sun in the form of solar winds and coronal mass ejections and solar flares, which are indeed striking the Earth's magnetosphere. And whenever you have electromagnetic energy striking another magnetic field like the Earth's, it's going to feed back to the source of the Earth's magnetic field, which is the core, the mostly molten iron core, which swirls around like a bowl of water on a potter's wheel. That swirling water, or that swirling molten iron core, is now sloshing around, and I could see the effects of it sloshing by watching the day-to-day progression of the jet stream on the Weather Channel, which I've been following since 2004. It started like this bowl, visualize in your mind a bowl of water on a potter's wheel, and somebody jars the potter's wheel a little bit. Instead of the water, which was previously swirling nice and smoothly in a nice circle, is now starting to ripple a little bit. And I saw that rippling motion exemplified, demonstrated with the rippling of the jet stream, forming sort of like a W pattern going all the way across the United States from 2004 until 2009. And then the ripple got more accentuated, and then little O's, or what they call cutoff highs and lows, began to form, huge O's in the jet stream, which filled the troughs and peaks of these W. And now...
There you go. Jesse, are you there?
Yeah, Marshall, my phone's got hit. I'm in central Mississippi.
Okay,
may I say one thing real fast before we go off the air, Marshall?
Yeah.
We were working on a video this morning, and it's going to be uploaded today. And one of the YouTube listeners sent me a link to all the world helio recorders, your seismographs, and you can pull up a page, see the movement move across the globe as it does it. You can check, and it's amazing to watch how in sync these days that these helio recorders are around the world. But that'll be up this afternoon, and it will be a good tool to keep an eye on.
All right, and for those of you out there, and today is really a great kickoff show, and Phoenix 333 and Jesse, and we've got John DiNardo. This has really been an interesting crew. It's been a great way to kick it off. Looks like they just got it in for you, Jesse. You're going to have to soldier on, good buddy.
Hey, listen, I'm from Mississippi, Marshall. They can't get too tough on me.
I love it.
Good for you,
okay.
Jesse.
Hey, real fast, Jesse, just about 10 seconds. What are you looking for next week? What's your eyes going to be tracking?
Well, I'm going to be looking for X-class flares, and then that's going to be the trigger. We're already overheated, and any X-class radiation we get, Marshall, we have the largest hole in our upper atmosphere ever recorded. The shields are down.
Shields are down, and it is not a pretty sight. Gentlemen, thank you all for a fabulous show. To you in the virtual studio, you are just great. I've been loving your comments. It's really been a fabulous time, folks. We're going to be back. And Jesse, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. John?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Now, for the listeners out there, Planet X Special Report, and this is the, I don't know, we call it Premier Edition. We can call it whatever we want as long as nobody calls it Collect. And but one of the interesting things that happened once we announced that we were changing the format for Yow Radio, and I was going to go to an ad hoc, and we were going to shift in the programming, and Jesse and I would be pairing up and start bringing out folks. Man, the onslaught was amazing, and I was getting a whole bunch of emails every day. Jesse's a so-and-so and a scum bucket and a this and that, and you're net. And I don't know, I think, Jesse, did you get a few back in a reverse direction towards me?
Well, Marshall, I think we've had about 200,000 views since the show, and I would say 1% were negative. But I've noticed it change. People are starting to we've kind of filtered through some of the people that are just there to come in and disrupt. And through that filtering process, we're getting more and more constructive comments. But yeah, we definitely, people don't like it when you strike certain nerves, and we felt it on this end.
Yeah, and you know, that was the reason why we were originally planning to do this show, not today, but actually next Friday was going to be the launch. And I spoke with Jesse about it yesterday, and what's happening here, let me explain to you folks, it's not what you would think, that you're going to get crank letters from people that have been following you for a long time. We always get those people, and they're always writing. But the ones we get are like on YouTube, we'll get a message, and it's usually vulgar language, and here's the truth, go to this site and go find this site, and you go to that and it's a classic Disinfo YouTube channel, one of these quick throwaway accounts they throw up, very sketchy, or usually just no details on who owns the account, and or their cynical comments like I live in Timbuktu and that kind of nonsense. And you'll see one or two links to videos that are just junk. You know, it's just stuff that they can scam down off YouTube for somewhere else and repost it. And so you get those, you know that you're tracing back to it, and what the Disinfos really were trying to do with us folks. And it's important to tell you, not that we're particularly upset about it. We're not. I mean, this is just what life is for me and Jesse and folks like us. You just got to deal with these poison pen things, and there's always going to be that. But this is more of an orchestrated campaign, and it's real simple. They know when they do this that we're not going to go, oh, my God, Jesse's a so-and-so because this Yutz is saying it. No, we don't. We do what we always do. We'll go and just simply reverse back into whoever the sender was, their account, and block them. Or we mark them as spam, or we file a complaint against them with their ISP for an attack. And because all we're really doing is engage in a battle of attrition, because we're not fighting real people. We're fighting hollow personas and throwdown accounts. But it takes them effort and time to create their throwdown accounts. And so this would have just simply gone on, this cycle of nonsense and attacks that they're doing, the Disinfos. It's not genuinely idiotic people. They have a completely different approach. Compared to the cockroaches, it's actually refreshing at times, too. But,
well, Marshall, explain to us where these are coming from, and connected to the famous saying by President Nixon, it's not the crime that incriminates them, but it's the cover-up. So in trying to cover up, they're actually proving to us that there is a great threat coming that they don't want us to know about. Why don't you explain that?
Well, the whole point of what they're doing is that they're wanting to position themselves. I mean, they are whoever has the money to keep a secret. That's it. That's the only really rule you can apply.
Power elite.
Power elites, absolutely. I mean, we're not talking about dealing with yutzes out there, you know, potty-mouthed teenagers and ne'er-do-wells, and yeah, they're out there, and they're, you know, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to attract them. They come like lights to the moth, or moths to a light. But yeah,
well,
these are the ones that
these people are paid to do this.
Oh yeah, they're paid. They're well organized, and you know, and sometimes in the interchanges, you know, it's like I'll write them back and I go, you didn't follow your manual, you know, try again.
That's right. Disinformation techniques that are widely used by the intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Marshall,
you know what happens when they do that? You know, I've noticed, and I keep up with this. I keep an eye on all the channel hits and things like that go on. Certain things that trigger a certain nerve reaction, and where we get the load of the big hits that are negative, they'll go up and put the other channels up, right? And start sending into all of your subscribers the information. And every time they do it, it backfires on them because it doubles my hits, and it brings people here to say, well, why is he such a bad guy or whatever? And then they start gathering information, and then I see them change and start sending in links to new earthquake links or volcano things. So it's backfiring on them, and they're bringing people to our channel. So let them keep doing it. That's what I've seen on my numbers.
I agree.
Pretty soon they're not going to be able to plaster us with this information, because I see so many people, increasing numbers of people, starting to speak out about these natural disasters and the connection of these natural disasters to celestial bodies approaching the inner solar system. Everybody's talking out about it, and it's just there's no way they can muster enough disinformation agents to suppress our movement.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is almost kind of like an Occupy Wall Street phenomena where, You know, I mean, you listen to the 1%, and they're going, okay, where's your spokesman with the list of demands? Because that's what they do best, you know. They get into negotiations with you, and they have taken tens of thousands of dollars worth of Zig Ziglar marketing and negotiation courses, and they clean your clock, and you walk out going, what the hell happened? I'm the bad guy, and they still got it all, you know. And it's like, that's what they want to do, and they can't do that with these folks out